Okay. Good morning and welcome everyone to the Office of Emergency Management and Communications. I'm Rich Gaitis, Executive Director of OEMC. Today represents an all-hands-on-deck operation led by Mayor Lightfoot to ensure a safe and secure election this year. As part of this effort, OEMC is activating its Emergency Operations Center today in a citywide effort to monitor any activity and gatherings, as well as coordinate resources requests throughout the city. This activation is a collaborative effort between city departments, the Chicago Board of Elections, along with county, state, and federal partners serving in the EOC, totaling 30 agencies. As you'll hear today, over the last several months, OEMC, along with our City of Chicago Public Safety and Infrastructure departments, have been conducting drills, tabletop exercises, and workshops to enhance our coordination efforts and to be ready to respond to any situation or possible event that should occur in the city before, on, and after Election Day. Our mission and number one goal is the safety and the well-being of the residents of Chicago. The city's all-hands-on-deck approach, a collaboration between OEMC and various city departments that include Chicago Police Department, Chicago Fire Department, Chicago Department of Transportation, Department of Streets and Sanitation, the Department of Water Management, Chicago Transit Authority, Business Affairs and Consumer Protection, and the Chicago Board of Elections. We have refined plans to deploy public safety and infrastructure assets at pre-identified locations that include retail corridors, both in the Central Business District and throughout our neighborhoods in all 22 districts. Our main objective is to ensure residents feel safe while voting and that whatever the outcome, protests remain peaceful. To receive information, emergency alerts on the latest updates regarding street closures, severe weather, public transportation, and traffic, I encourage you to sign up at notifychicago.org. And as always, if you see something, say something, and contact 911. Thank you for being here today, and now I'd like to introduce the leader in this effort, Mayor of the City of Chicago, Mayor Lori Lightfoot. Yeah.
Thank you, Rich. And good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here. Let me also acknowledge the others who are with us here today. Superintendent David Brown from the Chicago Police Department. You just heard from Rich Gaitis, the Executive Director of OEMC. We also have with us Chairwoman Marisol Hernandez from the Chicago Board of Elections, the Business Affairs and Consumer Protection Commissioner, Rosa Escarino, and also Public Health Commissioner, Dr. Allison Arwady. We have been planning for election really since late summer, and those plans have increased, of course, in the last 2 weeks. Taking the lessons learned from the summer, which at times have been humbling, but also instructive, we have been focused on two issues when it comes to Election Day. First is election integrity, and I will talk about that in a moment. And the second, of course, is public safety. And regarding public safety, as you heard from Executive Director Rich Gaitis, we are kicking off our 10-day operational plan encompassing Halloween weekend and our preparedness measures throughout the course of election week. Over the past several weeks, the Chicago Police Department and OEMC, as well as other city departments, have been engaged in multiple preparedness workshops to conduct a variety of public safety scenarios related to Halloween and Election Day. These have included weather emergencies, outbreaks of COVID, as well as any protests arising from the possibility that the presidential election remains undecided on election night and contested through the following days. We've also established a business operations center to exchange real-time information with our city's business partners and provide situational awareness during any public safety or public health incident. This will expand the communication and operational components by utilizing resources through various tools. And stakeholders assigned to the Business Operations Center will be key subject matter experts with the ability to contact security on-site and distribute accurate information. In respect to CPD action, starting today, the Chicago Police Department will increase its patrol beyond regular deployments to supplement our ongoing on-the-ground public safety resources, and the superintendent will give more details about that. I want to stress that while CPD is focused on crime prevention, our officers will continue to ensure residents expressing First Amendment rights are protected and given the supports they need to stay safe. Furthermore, in the event of a public safety incident, the city, at the direction of CPD and coordinated by OEMC, will be strategically deploying between 60 and 300 of our infrastructure assets to protect neighborhood, commercial corridors, and critical businesses. You've seen these neighborhood protection plans in place before over the course of the summer, and we are reactivating those infrastructure supports as needed throughout the course of the weekend, but starting today. While the development of our 10-day operational plan has been in the work for weeks, in truth, as I said, our preparations stretch back to the summer when we undertook 2 citywide drills to ensure our strength and preparedness. I'd like to turn my focus now specifically to election week itself. November 3rd is coming up fast, and no matter what happened, it will be a big day for all of us. You've heard me say this before. This election, particularly at the top of the ticket, is the most consequential in our lifetime. And a team from the mayor's office, as well as OEMC, has been working directly with the Board of Elections to make sure that the election goes off without a hitch. And let me say, in addition to this, the act of voting is sacred to our democracy. It is the one way that individual citizens have power to ensure that our rights are protected for every single one of our residents. We are doing everything that we can to protect and encourage your right to vote. Now, I know that some people may be worried about their physical safety and the safety of actually going and voting. And I want to say this. You should be rest assured that with our planned precautions in place, it is absolutely safe to vote. And we encourage everyone to do so. Whether early voting or in-person voting, it is safe to vote. I voted 2 weeks ago, and it could not have been easier. The workers were constantly cleaning surfaces. Social distancing was very well executed at my early voting site, and I and my wife felt totally safe going into that polling place and casting our ballot. And I'm proud to report that, like in much of the country, early voting in Chicago has already reached record-breaking levels. With more than 270,000 more Chicagoans have already cast their ballot than in the 2016 election cycle at the same time. We expect records to be broken, both in the number of votes of early voting, but also in mail-in ballots. Meanwhile, over 40% of Chicago's registered voters have already taken advantage of early voting and vote by mail. Now I'd like to outline additional public health measures we are undertaking in preparation for Election Day itself. Chicago's departments and agencies have been working in partnership with the independent Chicago Board of Elections to provide resources and supports at every single polling place in every neighborhood. As part of a citywide effort to ensure safety and health, especially around crowds, starting today, the OEMC is activating its Emergency Operations Center. This will also serve to coordinate resource requests and responses to individual situations with city departments and agencies, as well as with our county, state, and federal partners. Public health is top of mind for all of us on this approaching Election Day. And to expand on what I noted earlier, CDPH will continue to work closely with the Chicago Board of Elections through Election Day to ensure every polling location has the appropriate cleaning and disinfection protocols, traffic flow guidelines to ensure social distancing, and requiring face covering for all employees. And let me pause on that. You must wear a face covering, a mask, when you go into a polling place. Do not make Board of Election workers or election judges remind you of this absolute necessity. Facial coverings, masks, are mandated in the city of Chicago, and you must wear one when you go in to a polling place. And finally, the city has been in close communication with our business community to ensure that they have the resources and guidance needed in the case of any rallies or large demonstrations surrounding the election. Commissioner Escareno will provide more details momentarily, but I also want to stress personally for all businesses in every neighborhood, please do sign up for this Shy Biz emergency alerts. We have about 8,000 businesses across the city that have signed up. More are joining on a daily basis. This is the best way for you to know what is going on in your neighborhood because we are pushing out geo-specific notices to businesses across the city. Sign up. You can go to the OEMC's webpage and fill out the information there, and then you'll be signed up and be connected to the community of businesses across the city who want to be in the know, particularly around issues related to the election. And let me say this again. Regardless of what happens, November 3rd will be a big day for all of us. And our goal is clear. Keep Chicagoans safe as we take part in this momentous day. Every single Chicagoan eligible to vote should do so if they haven't already. And you don't have to wait until November 3rd. Early voting sites are available all across the city. All of our polling places can be easily found online by visiting chicagoelections.gov. That's chicagoelections.gov. And I'll say it for the third time, chicagoelections.gov. Please take advantage and vote. Our city and many of our partners have been working night and day now for months to ensure everything surrounding the election process is safe, has integrity, and that everyone who wants to vote can vote with absolute peace of mind. And before I turn the podium over to the next speaker, let me also say this. Chicago, we have to be smart, safe, and peaceful. No matter the outcomes of next Tuesday's elections, we all know that emotions will be high because they already are. And I urge you to channel those emotions into peaceful and productive expressions. In this city, we have a long history of peaceful protests. Let's honor that legacy in the days to come. We need to de-escalate from this long, difficult year. And as I said, I know that emotions are already high. There's a lot of apprehension that might happen next Tuesday. But please, I call upon each of you to channel your emotions into peaceful, productive means of expression. We should be a model for the nation and how we take care of our business over the next 10 days. And with that, I'll turn the things over to Marisol Hernandez, the chairperson of the Chicago Board of Elections. Marisol.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Marisol Hernandez, Chairwoman of the Chicago Board of Elections. Thank you to everyone here this morning who has been working tirelessly to make this election safe, accessible, and secure for all Chicagoans. And I would especially like to thank the mayor's office and the agencies here. Their help has been incredible in making this election a successful and safe one. Election Day, November 3rd, is just 4 days away, and I encourage everyone to make a plan now and vote if you haven't already. This is an unprecedented election, and the Chicago Board of Elections has worked closely with our colleagues and partners across the city to offer and expand voting options that are safe and accessible for all voters. We are proud of the enthusiasm and turnout from Chicagoans so far, with more than 650,000 voters already casting their ballot in person or by returning their vote-by-mail ballot. We have shattered our previous vote-by-mail records, and the board is proud that so many Chicagoans have decided to utilize this safe and convenient voting method. For those who haven't registered to vote, cast their ballot, or return their mail-in ballot, there's still time. Make a plan today. There's no need to wait until November 3rd. All Chicago voters can utilize early voting sites or the Loop Super site downtown for same-day voter registration, to return their vote by mail ballot, and for in-person voting. And on Election Day, the United Center will now serve as a voting super site and will have a secure drop box for the first time in the arena's history. You can register and cast your vote at the same time or drop off your vote by mail ballot in the house that MJ built. We will also have additional secured drop boxes at Wrigley Field and by Guaranteed Rate Field. Check our website for the exact locations, chicagoelections.gov. If you're voting in person, please download your sample ballot before you come to vote. Mark the sample ballot with your choices and use it as a guide when you come in to vote, to make voting faster and easier for everyone else. As we all know, we're still fighting COVID-19, and safety is our top priority. We're following all CDC and Illinois Department of Public Health COVID-19 guidelines at every polling place. We have worked to ensure that all polling places are spacious enough to provide a safe voting environment for our voters and poll workers. We have strict social distancing measures in place, and voters can expect to see 6 feet of social distancing between polling stations, plexiglass dividers, and hand sanitizers and masks available for use. We encourage everyone to plan ahead and visit chicagoelections.gov to check the location of your Election Day precinct or any early voting site or the drop box sites. If you will turn 18 by November 3rd, you can still register to vote or file a name or address change. Just visit any early voting site or on Election Day, your precinct polling place, and bring 2 forms of ID, one of which has your name and address. If you are voting by mail, we strongly recommend, and I want to emphasize this, we strongly recommend that at this time you drop off your ballot in your return envelope at one of our secured drop boxes, conveniently located at any one of our early voting sites and 26 Chicago Public Library locations. And on Election Day, you have the option to drop it off at the United Center, Wrigley Field, or Guaranteed Rate Field. If you're mailing your ballot, be sure the ballot is postmarked by the U.S. Postal Service by Election Day, November 3rd. On Election Day, please remember, you cannot return your vote by mail ballot to an Election Day precinct polling place. Please bring it to one of the secured drop boxes at any one of our early voting sites or to one of the designated secured drop boxes on or before 7 p.m. on November 3rd. Find the list of drop box locations at chicagoelections.gov. Once you drop off or mail in your ballot, you can track your ballot at chicagoelections.gov and monitor when it is received by the board. If you have not yet voted, please do so today or this weekend. If you have any questions, please visit our website at chicagoelections.gov. We encourage everyone to make a plan and vote. Thank you. And now I'll introduce Dr. Allison Arwady.
Good morning. I'll be brief, as you've already heard a lot of the information that will help make your voting experience as safe as it can be and allow you to exercise the essential right that it is to vote. I want you to know that one of our most experienced medical directors, doctors from the Chicago Department of Public Health has been working in detail with the Chicago Board of Elections to review plans, protocols, think about procedures, think about materials, think about equipment, think about spacing, think about masks, think about the unexpected coming up. We've done a lot of planning, and it's been going very, very well at all of the sites that have been open for early voting. I have every confidence that if you follow the things that we know help protect you against COVID, you can and should vote without concern. The things that you've heard, you will wear a mask, and so will everybody who is working at that polling space. You will practice the 6-foot distancing, at least 2 arm lengths in between people, and you will see a lot of things set up that will ensure that everyone is doing that. You'll wash your hands before and after and have hand sanitizer available, and we'll be practicing together the safe way to vote. I urge everyone to make a plan now. When you avoid crowds, it makes it even easier to move people through quickly, keep that social distancing. So things like downloading that ballot in advance, thinking right now today, am I going to early vote on Saturday, on Sunday, on Monday? If I'm going to go on Tuesday, can I go perhaps in the late morning where there may be fewer people? Make a plan that works for you. Vote with confidence, knowing that we have done everything we can to keep you safe from COVID-19. And with that, I'll introduce Superintendent Brown from the Chicago Police Department.
Good morning. There's no more sacred tradition in our country than the right to vote. Chicago Police Department has been preparing for both Election Day and the Halloween day as well. There are no incidents on the horizon based on our latest intelligence. Still, we have stepped up our patrols ahead of the weekend and the upcoming week. All days off have been canceled for Halloween Day, and we encourage everyone to celebrate safely. Selected citywide teams have had their days off canceled for the next 10 days. Command staff has been meeting daily since October 19th to prepare for the weekend and election week. We have also held, as mentioned by Richard Gaius, 2 tabletop exercises this month with our partners from across the city. Our community safety teams and our critical incident response teams will be out protecting our neighborhoods and our downtown alike. We've also set up business hotlines in all of our 22 police districts where business owners can call if they are concerned about their safety throughout this operational period. Should demonstrations take place, our officers will be there to protect the First Amendment rights of protesters. People in general have very high anxiety as it relates to the upcoming election. And we understand that. And we are focused on ensuring our officers will work to de-escalate, to calm tensions so that everyone is comfortable exercising their right to vote. We are also there to prevent lawlessness. There will be a zero tolerance for criminality during this time, and any time for that matter. And officers will take action against anyone intent on spreading chaos. Again, I want to emphasize our intelligence points to a peaceful weekend and safe election. Please celebrate safely this weekend. And I also encourage everyone to vote. And now I'll bring up Rosa Escareno with BACP. Rosa?
Thank you, Superintendent. Good morning. My name is Rosa Escareno, and I'm the Commissioner for the Department of Business Affairs and Consumer Protection. This has been a very unique and challenging year for our business community, and and they have been incredible partners throughout COVID, as well as with some of the challenges that we faced with some of these civil and social unrest. But these challenges, I think, have made one thing extremely clear, is that we need each other and that we need open communication to ensure that we are prepared for anything that comes our way. And so today's conversation about coming together, working together as we face for this unique and extremely important election, we are all taking an all-hands-on-deck approach. So working together with OEMC, the Chicago Police Department, all sister agency partners, as well as my department, have been working together on a variety of the planning that has gone on to ensure that not only this weekend, but that our election is one that goes with all the great intentions in mind. We have been sharing information with our business community. We have about 45,000 contacts that we connect with on a regular basis, sometimes daily, whether it's email, social media. And what's been really important about the planning that's gone on right now and leading up to this important week and weekend is that the business community has been a true partner in all of this, and they have been at the table ensuring that they have the right information to be a partner and to be prepared. So I want to thank certainly OEMC and police for all their efforts. And in addition, during the past months, Superintendent, I want to thank him because he has really been our partner in walking through all the different neighborhoods, making sure our business community gets the information that they need, and we've had a very frank and open dialogue. So this is helping to build those relationships. But as we go forward, I want to make sure that all the businesses sign up for the ChiBiz alert by dialing 67283 and then ChiBiz. And then what that'll do, it'll trigger very specific geographic messages about what's happening in your community, whether it's COVID-related, whether it's a demonstration, and so you want to make sure that you have that information in your fingertips. Please go to chicago.gov/ChiBiz alerts, and you can sign up online, where you can actually get even broader information by also signing on online. So we know that we've asked a lot of our business community throughout these past months. We continue to be in communication with them regularly and daily, and we just want to thank you, and we want to continue to keep you, continuing to work with us through this weekend. So, but I am confident that our planning, because of all the tabletops, will all come together, and now we have each other to rely on to make sure that it goes off without a hitch. So I will now provide a brief overview of the mayor's comments and some of the other comments in Spanish for our Spanish audience. Buenos días, la alcalde Lori Lightfoot quiere comunicar lo siguiente a todos los residentes de Chicago. El acto de votar en Chicago es sagrado para nuestra democracia. Estamos haciendo todo lo posible para garantizar que se proteja el derecho de votar de cada uno de nuestros residentes aquí en la ciudad de Chicago. Es importante que se sientan absolutamente seguros de votar. Y si aún no lo ha hecho, anímese y salga a votar hoy. No espere. Hay muchas casillas de votar que ya están activas para asegurar que su voto temprano sea realizado. Nuestra estrategia de protección y seguridad incluye 3 iniciativas. Primero, todas las agencias de Chicago están trabajando con la Junta Electoral de Chicago para desplegar recursos y apoyar los centros de votación en su comunidad. Segundo, durante las últimas semanas, la Oficina de Emergencia, Comunicación e Información, OEMC, ha realizado varios talleres de preparación para llevar a cabo varios escenarios de seguridad pública. Tercero, a partir de hoy, el Departamento de Policía aumentará patrullas y recursos más allá de sus despliegues regulares. Esto ayudará a complementar los recursos y la seguridad en cada comunidad en la ciudad. Adicionalmente, la oficina está preparando para proteger los derechos de la primera enmienda de nuestros residentes. Este es proteger su derecho de votar. Es esencial para nuestra ciudad. Es muy importante hacerlo, que ustedes se sientan apoyados en este proceso porque es un derecho sagrado que todo aquel que puede debe hacerlo sin miedo y sintiéndose protegido. Y también el Departamento de Salud de Chicago sigue trabajando durante las elecciones para garantizar que todo aquel que vote y que los lugares de votación están siguiendo las reglas de salud, así como limpiar y desinfectar todo local, mantener el flujo de tráfico y asegurar que el distanciamiento social está vigente. Exigir que todo empleado y que todo votante tiene que utilizar la máscara de cubrir su boca y les pedimos que por favor sigan los reglamentos para asegurar la seguridad de todo el mundo. Y finalmente, también estamos en comunicación con nuestra comunidad empresarial. Estamos asegurando que los negocios tengan todos la información y tengan la orientación necesaria en caso de manifestaciones que resultan durante las elecciones. Quiero enfatizar que las empresas se suscriban a las alertas de emergencia de Shy Biz. Pueden llamar al número en su teléfono, al número 67283 Shy Biz para que reciban informaciones regularmente directamente a su teléfono. Al registrarse puede también recibir alertas de emergencia directamente de OEMC que está pasando en su comunidad. El objetivo del alcalde es muy claro: mantener a todos nuestros residentes seguros mientras participan en esta elección que es tan importante para todos nosotros. Muchas gracias. Y ahora quiero invitar al alcalde que venga a hablar. Thank you, and now I'll invite the mayor back.
Good morning, Dana. Happy to take your questions.
Good morning. Actually, Mayor, I have a lot of questions for you, but I have one for Chairperson Hernandez. So I thought I would.
Yes, please.
And that question is, you have been planning, feel confident things will go smoothly to the state, but you also feel confident you have enough election judges for all the polling places? Is there a shortage? I know that was a concern in the primary.
Exactly. So in the primary, that was a big concern because COVID came upon us almost on Election Day. We have seen such an outpouring of support from our Chicago voters that we had more than enough persons applying to become judges of election. And interestingly enough, the biggest group are the 18 to 24-year-olds who have stepped forward and applied to become judges of election. So not only do we have the judges of election assigned, but we have backup judges of election. We have attorneys who have volunteered. We feel very prepared.
Do you have a hard number on how many election judges you have now?
We have a full complement, which is approximately 13,500.
And in the spring, do you recall what the final election judge was?
I'm sorry.
In the spring, do you remember what the final number was for election?
No, not offhand.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mayor, I have several questions, starting with one from me. The 10-day operational plan is in effect today. You talked about reactivating infrastructure supports for businesses, et cetera. Can you just give any specifics as to what that entails and what people might see?
Yeah, I think what people are going to see is a couple things. Number one, you're going to see, I think, a heightened presence of Chicago police in uniform. You're going to see their vehicles flashing lights, which I think the feedback that we've received gives people confidence. You're going to see infrastructure assets, kind of the big infrastructure trucks from Streets and Sand, CDOT, and the Water Department are going to be out in business quarters. You'll also see them in the downtown area. We have been working really all summer, and we will continue to with other partners. Our federal partners will be out, the state police, as well as the Cook County Sheriff's Police, who have been really invaluable, and the superintendent can speak more to that. But yeah, we want to be visible, but we also want to be calm and de-escalate. We want people to have confidence that we are being diligent, and we are, around the clock, as I said, starting today. And then we have flexibility to up and increase that visibility and asset deployment as needed. And it's really going to be a function of real-time intelligence that's coming in. One of the reasons why we have really worked extremely hard over the last 2 months, 3 months with our business partners all across the city is because they're the eyes and ears of neighborhoods. And so we've had countless security briefings with them. We conducted one earlier this week, and over 700 people participated in that discussion. They have their own communications lines that they have stood up in the last 3 months, which we participate in. And in addition, as I said, and Director Gaitis said, that we have business representation that's sitting in our Emergency Operations Center. So we want to make sure that there is a constant feedback loop over these next 10 days, not only with our businesses, but the businesses are key with our elected officials and with everyday residents to make sure that if people see something, that they are reporting it out and that we are acting upon that intelligence. I know, Sup, if you want to add any more to that point.
Yeah, the mayor mentioned all the things that you will see, a heightened presence, but a calm, de-escalating presence. But what you won't see also is the coordination of our intelligence resources, our undercover officers, our coordination on open source social media, gleaning information, our interaction through a community engagement with our business liaison officers in all of the districts, coordinating all this communication, this redundancy of making sure that we have two-way communication, that we are ahead of any type of thing being planned or any nefarious behavior so that we can respond real time much more quickly.
Since you're there, I have a question from a reporter, Amy Jacobson, that I think is best suited for you. She asks, what are the rules of engagement for police if people are looting right in front of them?
The engagement for police is that we will take swift action. We will not tolerate looting or any other criminal behavior. We've taken a strong stance on this. We're making a point. So just the message is, don't loot in Chicago. If you do loot, you will be held accountable. If you escape, we will find you and bring you to justice.
Thank you, Superintendent. Mayor, question from Franz Gielman. This is a deeply divided country. This has been a tumultuous election in the middle of a pandemic. No matter what the outcome, a large group of people will be unhappy with the result. What would you say to both sides of this divide as the city prepares for the possibility of a third round of civil unrest?
Well, first of all, my hope is that we don't have a round of civil unrest. Part of the reason I said in the last part of my remarks is reminding residents that we have a long history in the city of peaceful protests. But what we need to do is channel those emotions around the election into peaceful and productive activities. And there's plenty of ways to get engaged in that. We anticipate that there will be people in the streets in anticipation of the election results. You know that every state, every municipality has different rules for elections. We may not know the outcome of the presidential election on election night. We may not know the outcome of the Senate, key Senate races across the country that will determine who controls the Senate going forward. But we've got to be responsible as the people who are safeguarding our democracy. And what do I mean by that? The reason that we vote And the thing that distinguishes us from every other country in the world is that the people do have power. No matter your station in life, your most powerful tool in the democracy is the tool of voting. But with voting comes responsibility, which is that we honor the results of the election. And so, yes, there may be some people, win or lose, who are unhappy with the election results, but as Americans, as the guardians of our democracy, we have to honor those results. And so what I'm encouraging people to do is to express themselves. We have a lot of incredibly talented and innovative and creative people in the city, but do it in a way that honors our traditions, and particularly do it in a way that doesn't harm someone else. You know, I think one of the big lessons from this year, and there are many, is that we don't have the right to take out our frustration, our anger on someone else. You know, I go back to the many conversations that I've had with businesses, and particularly small businesses, owners who really gathered their life savings and put it into a store to really realize their dream of entrepreneurship. No one has the right to take away that dream, to crush that dream, particularly not in this economy and not today, where we have a whole round of additional state-mandated closures that are going to harm businesses. So we have to be in this together, but we also have to support each other, and we have to particularly support our businesses, our small neighborhood businesses in particular. And I want to make sure that whatever it is that people choose to express, that they honor their neighbors who have sacrificed so much to get to the place that they can even open up a business, and have sacrificed even more in this incredibly difficult year.
Questions from A.B. Quinn of the Daily Line. Have there been specific threats or online chatter that are of particular concern on Election Day or after, and what federal departments have you been coordinating with?
The superintendent, I think, addressed this. We have no credible information right now that there's a particular threat anywhere, but we remain on heightened alert and diligent. We coordinate with a number of different federal partners from the U.S. Attorney's Office, from the FBI, and others that are on the ground. So those partnerships really go back decades, and they've been strengthened over the course of this year in particular.
A couple questions from Heather Sharon. I'm trying to stay on topic and then some off topic.
Okay.
This time. From Heather Sharon at WTPW. What actions will the city take if the federal government deploys troops to Chicago?
That's not going to happen. I don't have any worry about that whatsoever. That's absolutely not going to happen.
And are you considering ordering a curfew, using the bridges to block access to downtown, or shutting down the CTA? What metrics will you use to make that determination?
Well, as I said, we have no actionable intelligence right now that there are any specific threats to any particular location here in the city of Chicago. Obviously, as a result of a significant amount of planning and preparation done by the Chicago Police Department and OEMC and our various departments, we are ready and prepared if we need to scale up. We have done a lot of planning to test how long it takes us to go from one level to a next level, how much time it takes us, not just in the downtown area, but to make sure that we are ready in our neighborhoods. That's why we are pre-deploying assets in our neighborhoods and in the downtown area. But what the trigger is, I'm not going to actually go into that level of detail. I don't think that's appropriate, but trust that we do have and we will be watching diligently. And if we need to take more aggressive measures to shut down parts of the city, to address our critical infrastructure, we are prepared to take those steps.
A related question from John Greenfield from the Transportation News website, Street Blog. I'm going to just read his entire question. Transit and bike share shutdowns during protests like the one Chicago implemented during recent Black Lives Matter demonstrations hurt transit-dependent people the most and discourage free speech. In response to calls from transportation advocacy and civic groups, you recently said you will avoid any shutdown of transit options in the future. here's the question, will you commit to not shutting down the CTA and Divvy if people take to the streets during next week's election?
I am pretty confident I never said that I will never shut down transit. And let me remind folks, in the heightened days of June, when we were seeing massive protests, and many of those protests turning violent, both in the downtown area and otherwise, our transit workers felt threatened. We had people trying to take over buses and putting transit workers at risk. We had people trying to take over trains and putting transit workers at risk. The transit unions themselves were reaching out to me in a panic and asking for us to do things that were necessary to protect the workers, including shutting down transit. So I hope that we never see again in this city that kind of violence. But if we do, and if there is a reason for us to take those extreme measures, I'm not going to hesitate to do that. Obviously, shutting down transit is an incredible inconvenience. That's why the Chicago Transit Authority was the only major transportation system in the country that ran at full levels throughout the pandemic. Every other transit system, New York, Philadelphia, all the others shut or scaled back significantly their offerings. We know that in this city, there are workers who really depend upon the transit authority to get to and from their place of business. But we also have to balance that against any security risk. We don't see that as happening, but if it's necessary, I'm not going to hesitate.
Dana, let's do two more.
Okay, and moving off topic. So these are questions from Kelly Bauer from Block Club. Bars and restaurants are hanging on by a thread.
Yes.
Said, is the city offering any additional aid to restaurants and bar owners who are trying to make it work this winter and stay open? And will you consider a moratorium on late fines and fees associated with payroll taxes, sale taxes, and PPA license renewals for bars, restaurants, and venues unable to generate typical revenues this fall and winter?
Let me say this in answer to that question. Our bars and restaurants have borne an enormous burden over the course of this year. And the state-mandated shutdowns, I think, are adding a lot of additional pressure to them. And I worry that many of them will not be able to survive this. I was very clear with that in my statements to the governor. And given where we are and the metrics they're using, I'm not sure when we're coming back. And that concerns me greatly. Last night, my wife and I went out for what will conceivably be our last indoor meal for some time at one of our local restaurants. And as the meal was winding up, one of the workers, a woman who brought the water and the bread, asked to take a picture with me. And sorry, Dr. Arwady, but I was so overcome with emotion that I gave her a hug. I worry not only about her, but I worry about the other workers. I've talked to a lot of restaurant owners this week, and they're worried about their team members as well. They're worried about how many, if any, they can actually keep paying through this next and latest shutdown. They're worried about how they will be able to keep their businesses open and how those workers will be able to feed their families. I share that concern. This is an extraordinarily tough time. This is a very difficult pill to swallow. And of course, my team has been working since we got notice from after the governor's press conference on Tuesday that this was going to go into effect. We're looking at a variety of things that we can do from a regulatory standpoint to give relief to the workers and to the businesses that are going to be most deeply affected by this latest state-mandated shutdown. We've done a lot this year in terms of trying to provide resources and support, over $150 million all in. We don't have a lot of other additional resources, particularly in light of the fact that we're facing a $1.2 billion budget deficit for next year. But I've asked my team to look again, to dig down deeper, and think about ways that we can help these struggling businesses, because this is extraordinarily painful.
Sort of a flip of that, a question for Heather at the WTW. Yesterday, Governor Pritzker said deaths in Illinois have risen 80% since October 1st, along with a significant rise in cases and hospitalizations. you regret allowing bars that don't serve food to reopen on that day and allowing businesses to increase their indoor capacity. Was it a mistake to take that action, even though there was an average of 300 cases per day and guidelines set by CDH?
No, and I'm going to invite Dr. Already to come up, but let's be clear about what's happening in Chicago. What you've done is conflate statewide what's happening. That's been a problem in other areas of the state, not that we've seen in Chicago. And look, I want to be very, very clear. When we allowed more capacity in our restaurants, and we allowed bars to reopen in October, at that time, we were in a very different place than we are right now. But I'm also going to say, we follow the outbreaks, which is different than other metrics that people have been talking about. But they follow the outbreaks as well as a number of other metrics very, very carefully. We follow hospitalizations very, very carefully. We do case investigations and contact tracing. We've been doing that from the beginning of this pandemic, and as Dr. Arty would remind all of us, case investigation and contact tracing is the bread and butter of public health. If we saw in restaurants or in bars that they were the source of an outbreak, as we've done in every other setting, we would aggressively have addressed those issues. We have not seen that. It's not what's happening in Chicago. Now, of course, people are going out to bars and restaurants, and those are the places that are highest at risk because you're having a drink, you take your mask off. You're eating your food, you take your mask off. That creates risk, and of course it does. But I think the point that many have made is that bars and restaurants are not the source of outbreaks. What we're seeing in Chicago, let me just say it again, is that where we are most challenged with outbreaks is in private social settings, in homes, in other private venues. People let their guard down. They feel like when they're home, they can invite people in for dinner, for a drink, or what have you. We're social people, and I get that. But we cannot let our guard down. That's why Dr. Arwin and I said last week that we urge people to limit the amount of people who are coming into their homes only to essential workers, to maintain that bubble of people that are in your immediate family. That is what is going to make a substantial difference. And of course, wearing a mask. Wearing a mask. It's not a political issue. We have to have more people with compliance. We've done pretty well in the city of Chicago, but not good enough. We must social distance. We have to be diligent like we were in the spring that made the difference in bringing down the cases, stopping the doubling of the cases. I'm going to invite Dr. Arwady to really give you a little more data about where we are in Chicago. And yes, we're seeing an uptick in hospitalizations, but we've got to base that on actual COVID confirmed cases. That data we have at our fingertips. That is the data that we should be using.
Will the city enforce the ban, though?
I'm sorry?
Will the city enforce the
Yes,
ban?
we will. Go ahead, Dr.
So I'll just add to that we have been following, since we moved out of stay at home, a pretty clear set of metrics around when we can move forward and when we need to pull back. As you probably know, the city cannot be less strict, fewer mitigations than are required at the state, but where that has been indicated, we have had stricter restrictions in place. And so, for example, when we had seen a beginning of an uptick in the middle of the summer, we had pulled back farther than what was required at the state level, had dropped restaurant capacity from 50% to 25%, and had closed bars this summer. When we had gone 28 days with seeing decreasing cases, we'd gotten that positivity back down below 5%. We reached the lowest hospitalizations that we have seen to date since the beginning of the pandemic. We felt, and I would do that again, that is the time to make a move, because we are always trying to balance the public health risk, and the economic risk. We then have started to see these upticks, and as you heard, we are not in the same place as we were a few weeks ago. But even that increase that we put in place, we went on the restaurants from 25% back to 40%, kept a 50-person limit in place. Even that was stricter than what was required at the state level. We've been cautious in terms of doing this, but where we've made these decisions, we have made them based on data, and I will continue to do that, continue to follow the data and really make sure that our recommendations, first and foremost, are about us turning this around, because cases are on the increase. Hospitalizations are on the increase. We've not seen that increase in deaths yet here in Chicago, but I have no reason to think that wouldn't be coming eventually as we've seen it downstate. And at the end of the day, there's a lot of, everybody is just hurting so much with these restrictions in these businesses. The way we stop this is by not having people breathing on each other so much. Having the mask on, keeping the social distance, not giving an opportunity for viruses to spread. And so while we absolutely will want people and need people to support restaurants with takeout, with moving to the outdoor spaces, with doing everything we can to keep our local economy going, I also want to reiterate that we need to turn this around. And the way that we do this is by having people do the things that we know work, and especially in private settings, make those good decisions. Do not invite people, please, into your homes who don't live there. We need to turn this around, and then just like we were able to a month ago, we'll be able to again move back toward reopening, which of course is our goal when that is safe.